Those are the top stories in this news edition. Hello, welcome to ETV News. With the news, I'm Shamal Islam. Ethiopia commences the construction of the largest cement factory in Africa. The Lemi National Cement Industrial Complex has been officially commenced today in the presence of President Sahle-Work Zewde, Amhara State Chief Agenyo Teshaga, former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile-Mariam Desalegn, and other government officials. The project is part of the $2.2 billion investment agreement between the age-old East African Holding on the Ethiopian side and the renowned multinational West International Holding on the Chinese side. Laying the foundation stone of the industrial complex, President Sahle-Work Zewde said Ethiopia has no choice but drifting to economic progress by realizing such huge projects to break the shackles of foreign aid dependency. Apart from the cement factory, 6 other factories will be built under the industrial complex with a span of 7 years. The first phase of the industrial complex, which includes a cement factory, is expected to be finalized within the coming 18 months at a cost of $600 million. Upon fully operational, the cement factory will produce 10,000 tons of cement per day. The federal government of Ethiopia initiated a rule of law operation in the northern part of the country. The objective of the rule of law operations has been clearly articulated on several occasions, as have the genesis and history of constitutional transgressions by the criminal TPLF clique that necessitated a federal government intervention. The deliberate and heinous attack on the northern command of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, which brutally killed the ultimate guardians of the Constitution, is a crime of high treason under the laws of the land. The objective of the intervention by the federal government in the current phase of the rule of law operations in Tigray remains twofold. One, to build a region by ensuring the humanitarian needs are addressed, and the second one being to complete the process of bringing to justice the perpetrators of crime. Cuban ambassador to Ethiopia, Vilma Thomas, called upon Ethiopians to dignify the sacrifices of their forefathers in protecting the sovereignty of the country. The ambassador expressed her country's commitment to bolster the long-standing ties with Ethiopia in various aspects. Kasan Jani had the following account.
Ethiopia and Cuba have had deep-rooted and historic ties in a diplomatic arena. Ethiopians see Cuba as a strategic partner and praise its role during the Somali invasion. Cuban ambassador to Ethiopia, Vilma Thomas, said the relationship between these two sisterly nations is in a good position, recalling the long-standing partnership.
Cubans came to Ethiopia only as part of a policy of international solidarity that we apply all over the world. We go wherever we are requested to do so. We help. We support the objectives of the government, and we do so just because we think we have to cooperate with each other, not expecting anything in return. Cubans came to Ethiopia at the request of the Ethiopian government of the time to help Ethiopia with advisors in the military front, and also with experts helping Ethiopia in health, in engineering, and many of the social programs Ethiopia was developing at the time. But then the Ethio-Somali conflict started, and it was a request from the government to have a support of Cuban soldiers alongside Ethiopia, to help Ethiopia to defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country.
Ambassador Vilma also pointed out that the diplomatic relations between Cuba and Ethiopia which shall be translated into more actions in favor of the bilateral cooperation. According to the ambassador, Ethiopians should honor the sacrifice their forefathers paid to protect their sovereignty, noting the role of many Cuban soldiers during the Ethiopia-Somali War.
The Cubans only participated defending the territorial integrity of Ethiopia against a foreign threat. We were in Ethiopia from 1977 to 1989. The Cubans were here. And during that period, around 43,000 Cubans were in Ethiopia at different times. Not only soldiers. I'm not talking only soldiers. I'm talking also about doctors. I'm talking also about teachers, about engineers in different fields. I mean, Cubans supporting Ethiopia. But also during the Ethiopia-Somali War, we have 163 Cubans who lost their lives here.
She further pinpointed that the government of Cuba is committed to strengthen and expand bilateral relations through channeling the interests of Ethiopian entities.
Programs that have been developed alongside these more than 40 years of relations are still going on, together with new ones. We are still cooperating. We have signed a new agreement in the area of health recently. We also have been cooperating in science and technology. We are in the process of opening our cooperation in scientific field, especially in the biotechnology and the vaccine production area, where Cuba have a lot of development and there is an interest of Ethiopia on this one. Teachers have been working also in Ethiopia and the training on the TVT institutes and other projects. We are also in the process of signing an agreement of cooperation in sport. You know, you are very well known and very successful in track and field, and this is and athletics, and this is an area where, of course, Cuba also wanted to be able to take advantage of the experience and the huge success of Ethiopian runners to learn from your experience. And also we can provide experiences on other areas like boxing and so on. That's why we are working on that cooperation. And alongside all this cooperation area, we also have cooperation in multilateral area. We have been supporting each other at the UN and in other multilateral fora. Ethiopia has been a strong supporter of Cuba in our struggle against the U.S. blockade against Cuba. Ethiopia has been voting at the UN against those unfair and unjustified sanctions imposed by the U.S. government on Cuba. And this is something that we are very grateful for. And also we have been supporting each other in candidatures and international fora. So we have a very good bilateral relations that we hope we can continue fostering along the years.
Diplomatic relations between Cuba and Ethiopia were formally established on 22 July 1975. The two nations established respective representations at the embassy's level in August 1976.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Demeke Mekonnen bade farewell to the departing Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Kwesi Kwartey. On the occasion, Demeke thanked the Ghanaian diplomat for his productive tenure and for leading a commendable program at the Commission. The two sides also discussed the long-standing bilateral relations between Ghana and Ethiopia. The Deputy Prime Minister seized the opportunity to call upon African countries to come together under the AU Charter and work for the prosperity of their people. He also briefed the Deputy Chairperson on the current situation in Ethiopia and the efforts and measures by the government to address the situation. Ethiopia says it has allowed unfettered access to humanitarian organizations in the state of Tigray. In a press briefing here today, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs dismissed allegations by foreign media outlets regarding the situation in Tigray as unfounded. The international community, it said, must desist from baseless criticism and lend a hand to improve the situation in Tigray. The country believes the AU-led negotiation over the GERD will bring a win-win solution to all. Sintaya Tamra brings you the details.
In his weekly briefing, the ministry's spokesperson Dina Mufti today addressed a range of issues focusing on current local, regional and global affairs, including the humanitarian situation in Tigray and the AU-led negotiation on Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Speaking on the humanitarian assistance in Tigray, Dina disclosed that A total of 135 international organizations and staff who have applied to assist in the humanitarian aid in the region were granted access.
These conditions were three. One was unfettered access. With regard to the unfettered access, all donors, the media guys, who are of the intention of traveling to Tigray can be there only with giving notifications without any permissions or authorizations. This is one. The second one is with regard to the human rights violations. The Ethiopian government is committed to the human rights issues, and the government is committed to carry out independent investigation of the committed, quote-unquote, committed crimes by whoever does it.
However, the government is still continuing to cover 70% of aid demands despite the unfounded criticism and insignificant support from international bodies, he said.
Despite all the halubalus, despite all the noises made about the relief operations in that part of the country, 70% of the operations that has been, 70% of the relief supplies that have been given to Tigray comes from the government coffer. The donor community has been only offering 30%. And therefore, the Deputy Prime Minister has put forward a request as well, a kind request to the donor communities to increase their supplies as well, because we can see that they are showing concerns. And the one if they have concerns, they have to increase their supplies as well.
Regarding the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Dina pointed out that the construction of the dam is progressing well. Ethiopia, he told journalists, believes the African Union-led negotiation over the project will bring win-win solution to all.
Regarding the GERD negotiations, as you know, the Congolese have taken up the chairmanship from the African Union, from the AU, from the South African leadership. Now they are preparing themselves to resume negotiations, which have been halted for a while, for reasons we don't know. We know that the Congolese have been investigating on what have been taking place, and that they have had a visit to Cairo and Khartoum as well, and hopefully they'll be here as well. And we hope the resumptions, the negotiations, the tripartite negotiation will resume very soon. And we hope we'll come out with amicable solutions to the GERD issues with the downstream countries.
Ambassador Dina also touched on major activities carried out in the economic and citizen-centered diplomacy fields over the past 2 weeks.
Ministry of Women, Children and Youth says it is working to empower women in all sectors. The ministry, along with the Embassy of Japan, organized an event focusing on women entrepreneurship. Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary Ambassador of Japan to Ethiopia, Ito Takako, said the embassy is jointly working with the Ethiopian government to encourage women entrepreneurship. Emmanuel Jorge reports.
Aside from the political reforms under the current leadership of the Ethiopian government, the reformist government has taken major steps in promoting gender parity within the government's appointing women to top-level positions. But on the other hand, opportunities for women entrepreneurs in Ethiopia lag far behind those of men. In the Female Opportunity Index in 2021, Ethiopia occupies the 87th rank out of 100 countries in the index, which goes 8th in Africa. The government of Ethiopia is striving to boost women participation in entrepreneurship in order to balance the gender parity in collaboration with developmental partners like the World Bank and Japanese government. The Embassy of Japan held a panel discussion on challenges and success stories of Ethiopian women entrepreneurs in the press event organized by the Embassy jointly with the Ministry of Women, Children and Youth concerning the International Women's Day celebration. On the occasion, Ethiopian Minister of Women, Children and Youth, Filsan Abdullahi, said they are working to increase active participation of women in the country's economy and politics as well.
We have a lot of women entrepreneurs and we face a lot of challenge within that. I myself was an entrepreneur coming to this position, and I can understand the challenge that encounters them. As a minister, what am I planning to do to tackle some of the issues they face? And that is putting an appropriate policy. We're putting the Share of Eve policy, which is a policy where we're going to have a small and micro business owned by women to have a tax exempt. So that's one policy we're trying to push forward to. And I think it will have a huge impact in related to women and economically empowering women as well. To make sure women are empowered, we need to have more women leaders as figures as well. And that is something we're pushing within the coming election. We're also putting a 50-50 gender parity, where we will be introducing in every political party to make sure they have 50-50 gender parity.
Plenipotentiary Ambassador of Japan to Ethiopia, Ito Takako, said they are working with the government to empower women entrepreneurs.
We did education to start the basis for any business, either it's boy or girl. Then we also need some experiences as well as encouragement and networking, and the knowledge is a power. And I think that's what we'd like to share with the people in Ethiopia, because we believe Ethiopia has a great potential to have economic growth, and Japan would like to be part of it.
Most growth-oriented women entrepreneurs fall into a missing middle trap in which they are served neither by commercial banks nor by microfinance institutions. Marshes Ahe, who is owner of Impact Business Group, appreciated financial and technical support of the Women Entrepreneurship Development Project, which provides finance and business support for growth-oriented women entrepreneurs in Ethiopia.
I was joined the WIDEP in Ethiopian calendar 2006. So when the WIDEP project came here, it was good, especially for all of the Ethiopian women. So when I joined there, I got the loan, a big loan. So all the business grows because of WIDEP. Also, the WIDEP supports me by technically, especially training and other support. So I appreciate that project office, and I would like to say thank you that project for not for me, for all of the women entrepreneurs.
In the press event set up in the ambassador's residence, women entrepreneurs who are benefited from the WEDP and the Japanese NGO Sasakawa exhibited their handmade products.
Contestant political parties have been busy propagating their manifesto and platform as Ethiopia's parliamentary and regional elections slated for June is drawing nearer. While appreciating the facilities and impartiality from the National Election Board, some political parties blamed the government of obstructing town hall meetings and unlawfully detaining their party members. Talking to ETV, some contestant political parties promoted their economic and political ideology. Goshumalisa reports.
Ethiopia postponed the election due to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as widening instability across the nation. Now that the date has been set for this grand event, the sixth since 1995, various political parties, including the incumbent, have officially begun introducing their manifestos. Some political parties approached by ETV said that some of their town hall meetings and campaigns have been unlawfully stopped by police officers. The parties further blamed the government of detaining members ahead of the elections.
On Monday, early on Monday, around Shomeda, the Federal Police Commission and Addis Ababa Police Commission members stopped us from this campaign activity, said that they are not informed about the start of the election campaign period. We tried to communicate with their bosses, but we didn't get successful with that. On Sunday, when our members were touring the city, the surroundings in Konso, the police officers actually detained 11 members.
Asked why the Oromo Liberation Front is not introducing its manifestos in the heat of the campaign moment, Kajala Mardasa responded that the party is in the midst of internal problems, adding that the party will field candidates for the upcoming election, contrary to social media rumors that it may not run.
Especially the internal conflicts, disagreements occupied us and become a big obstacle in preparation for the election. We were tired by that problem. The chairman has refused to resolve the problem. We have tried in many ways. We as organization, as leadership, we haven't decided to boycott the election. We will participate as much as possible.
OLF is more or less leftist party adhering to ethno-linguistic administrative divisions. IZEMA, on the other hand, is a pan-Ethiopianist party, more or less falling into the category of center-right.
We should not fix ourselves to a single ideology, and whatever works to achieve social justice and citizenship-based politics in Ethiopia, we should subscribe to it. And we should focus on solving the problems, not on fixing ourselves to a single ideology which dictates solutions for every problems. So for example, when it comes to the economy, we are pro-market.
As an ideology, and the OLF ideology is democracy. Democracy is one of the Oromo Liberation Front value, establishing a democratic society, to establish a democratic and a genuine democratic society and equality. Our economic objective is a mixed economy.
Meanwhile, the two political parties appreciated the impartiality of the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia. Officials from the board were not available despite ETV's repeated attempts to include responses regarding accusations from IZEMA.
Meanwhile, the National Election Board of Ethiopia said over 2,000 candidates have been registered, representing 15 contesting political parties. This came here today when the board discussed with contesting political parties on issues emerging while the parties field candidates and promote their platforms. The board reaffirmed commitment to make the upcoming election a truly democratic one. Haptam Ashagri had the details.